What is up, you guys? It's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. If you saw the title of this video, I had COVID. So I'm just gonna kind of share my story, my experience with COVID, and save it for myself, deep in the archives, post it on YouTube, whatever. So way later down the road, hopefully when COVID is over and done with, I have this piece to remember my experience with this huge pandemic and historical time that we're in right now. So first of all, please subscribe and like this video, and let's get into my experience. So I was not expecting to test positive for COVID. I woke up, well, I worked on the 17th of January, and today's January 28th that I'm filming this. So I worked the night of MLK, which was January 17th. Felt fine at work, came home, went to bed the next morning on the 18th, and then woke up that evening and just kind of felt like some neck pain, a little bit of a scratchy throat, but I also went to bed with wet hair, and it's January and I sleep with the fan on. So it's not totally abnormal for a sore throat to be a symptom of mine. And so I didn't think anything of it and went to bed the next night, woke up the next morning with just like this splitting headache. I woke up at like maybe 6 or 7 a.m. just a splitting headache. So bad. Like, through sports and stuff, I had a few really bad concussions, and I have dealt with migraines since and had to go on medications for my migraines, all this. So I'm not a stranger to headaches, but this headache and migraine was the worst I've had in years, probably since I last had my concussion in high school, when I had my first really serious one. So I have not had a headache like this in a very long time. So I couldn't think, I couldn't be around sounds, I couldn't have lights on. I was almost in tears with how bad my head hurt. And I woke up sweating in the middle of the night as well. I think Nick might have been at work, I kind of forget now. But I just woke up, he was at work, because I texted him that I woke up with a really bad headache and was sweating and my body hurt, all that. So he came home and we were talking. I think we both might have fallen asleep for a little bit, and then I woke back up and I didn't feel any better. I took some Excedrin. That kind of helped my headache a little bit. But so this is the 19th now, and I'm supposed to work on the 20th. And for COVID tests and stuff, if you have, to go into work, you have to have no symptoms whatsoever to be in the NICU, which is where I work. So because I'm having these symptoms, I knew I would probably have to get tested through work, or at least call our safety hotline and see what they say. So typically, or at least in the beginning of COVID, when we would have to test, it would take a day and a half to get our results back. So I was like, well, if I'm supposed to work the 20th, with this being the 19th now, I'm gonna have to get tested today in order to have my results to see if I'm positive or negative to go to work tomorrow, if I do feel better. So I wasn't going to, because I started feeling a little bit better. My headache with the medicine was helping, and sorry, I thought the camera stopped recording. And my body aches and sweats weren't as horrible. I still had them a little bit, naggy pains, but ultimately I felt a little bit better than I did initially in the morning. So Nick talked me into going to get tested, just because it could take a while. So I called our safety hotline, and our roommate Joey was getting tested as well, and he was spending the night at his girlfriend's, and he had texted that he was going to get tested because he didn't feel very well. And I was like, well, shoot, I probably should get tested too. I feel like crap too, and you're not even in the same household as me. Let's see what happens. So I went and got tested, and Joey got tested in the morning and then went back to his girlfriend's house. So I went and got tested, and came home. It was 5 minutes from my house, the place where I needed to get tested. I came home, and probably 20 minutes after I walked in the door, I got an email saying, "You're positive." And I was like, no freaking way. Like, I definitely was not expecting, because I had felt way sicker than I had that day in like previous months, where I thought, okay, this might be COVID, and got tested and I was negative, and I felt 10 times worse than I did that day, minus the migraine. That headache was horrible. That was like the worst pain. And I was like, I've been sicker than I am today, and I was negative. It's probably not COVID. But I went and got tested anyways, came back positive, and so I started my quarantine. And you know, Nick and I share a bedroom, so he was gonna go get his booster shot. And so I called him and I was like, yo, I'm positive, you might want to consider that before you go and get your booster. So he did an at-home test that we had, and he was negative, so he went and got his booster. And then Nick started sleeping on the couch and hanging out downstairs, and I started quarantining in our room as soon as that email came up. So I called my mom, told my family, had to fill out a disability, COVID claim through the Hartford for work, and had to call off for work the next day. And so I'm quarantining. The next day I started to come down with all the symptoms: congestion, cough, sore throat, achy, pains, just like everything, sinus pressure, horrible headaches for like three to 5 days. Honestly, I still get them, but they've gotten lesser as time has gone on. But for like the first 4 to 5 days where I was in quarantine, my headache was horrible all those days. So I definitely would have gotten tested on the 20th had I not gone on the 19th, because I woke up and felt like absolute crap. It's like so bad, so sick. And I just continued like the next couple of days to get really, really sick. I could not breathe out of my nose. I was coughing, just these deep, like barky coughs. I still have one when I talk a lot, which I'll probably end up coughing in this video or slightly after, as I clear my throat. Taking deep breaths triggers me to cough. I never really had shortness of breath, but just a lot of fatigue. I did not move from my bed for like 3 days, 4 days. I was only required to quarantine for 5. However, my symptoms continued past the 5-day mark, so I was not allowed to go to work this entire week because I still had congestion and cough and fatigue and all of that. And honestly, today, being the 28th, so almost 10 days later, today was the day that I actually felt semi-okay. I still have my cough and a slight congestion or like runny nose, but everything's starting to drain now. But today was like the first day that I actually felt semi-normal and like I could maybe be a functioning human being again. So I have not been able to go to work yet. I go back on the 1st as my next scheduled shift, and I've just been trying to figure out this Hartford stuff because I had to extend my date since I'm not cleared to go back to work this week. So that's been really stressful for me, and every day I'm like talking to our HR or my managers or whatever, trying to figure out this claim thing, and it's so above my head and I feel like I'm doing it wrong, but I don't know. But yeah, I honestly haven't really had a whole lot of human interaction in the past 9-10 days because I was quarantining up here by myself, and then when I finally was able to come out, Nick had to work 3 nights in a row, so he's sleeping in the day and gone at night. So, and our roommate Joy finished his quarantine in the 5 days too, and then he went to Florida. So I really haven't seen like anybody or gotten to hang out or talk to anybody. So it's been really difficult. I feel really lonely and just, again, isolated because I was, but it's definitely taken a toll on me mentally. I've just been very anxious this week and just haven't felt like myself mentally, physically, just drained and exhausted, and just hasn't been the greatest week and a half for me. So I am starting to feel better, and I'm very lucky that my symptoms, although I did experience some pretty gnarly symptoms of what I had, compared to what some people have gone through and have experienced themselves or through family members or friends, I'm extremely lucky that this was the case of COVID that I had. And, I thank God that I was healthy enough to fight it, and that I didn't have any serious side effects or symptoms where I needed to be in the hospital. I had a grandparent have to go to the hospital for COVID, and I know thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people have died from it. So it's, again, a very scary illness. So, and stuff like that can happen to anyone, where your body might not be able to fight it. So I was very, very fortunate. See, there's that cough. I was very fortunate that my case of COVID was somewhat minor. Definitely had symptoms. I didn't lose my taste or smell, thank goodness. That would have been really difficult for me to eat or deal with. But again, everything is put into perspective when you see the statistics and you hear the stories. So I'm very, very fortunate, and my heart goes out to anybody who was majorly affected by this, in hospitalizations or deaths or whatever that may be. So I'm very, very lucky. But yeah, just the symptoms of runny nose, congestion, coughing, sore throat, body aches, fatigue. I had sweats for the first couple days, and it was not fun. Migraines, horrible, horrible headaches. That was probably my number one for the first couple of days. And then once everything started to set in, was the cough and congestion. Lots of meds were taken, lots of fluids. A lot of my meals, Nick did make me like grilled cheese and soup on some occasions, and he would make me dinner if I needed it, or he'd pick up dinner for me, but I was not able to go downstairs and cook my own meals or get my own drinks or anything. He would drop them off at our bedroom door, and I would go and get them. So it was definitely an adjustment, and I felt horrible having to be waited on hand and foot, but I also didn't want to leave my room because I have other roommates. I don't want to be touching stuff that they're going to be touching, knowing that I'm positive. So I know I did the right thing, but it also was just very difficult for me to kind of surrender and just let Nick do everything for me for the past week. So I'm very thankful for him, and obviously would not have been able to get through it without him. He was a major, major part of feeding me and taking care of me. And somehow he did not end up testing positive throughout. He took 3 COVID tests, and all of them came back negative. So I'm very glad that he was able to squeak past not getting it. And it's crazy how it affects some people and not others, but I'm very glad that he did not test positive and stayed healthy through this. And yeah, that's pretty much my COVID experience, and I'm glad it's over. I'm gonna go back to work. Hopefully I don't get it again, knock on wood. I do know people who have gotten it a couple times, so I doubt, again, knock on wood, I shouldn't even be saying this, but and I hope everybody else stays healthy, and I hope you guys stay healthy, and that we can get through this, and hopefully, with our vaccines and boosters, hopefully we're on the downward curve of COVID, and that it will not spike again. Fingers crossed, hopefully. So yeah, I just wanted to share my COVID experience with you guys. Have for myself for in the future, if I want to look back on my experience with it. But yeah, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Leave a comment down below. Maybe you had COVID. You can share what your symptoms were, or if you want to write somebody or let me know somebody to pray for during this difficult time of COVID, and or if you yourself need prayers. I know it's a lot mentally, whether or not you even have COVID, especially with me being in healthcare. It's definitely taken a toll on all fields of healthcare. So I am here for you, and I'm praying for you and everybody. But if you need extra prayers or questions, concerns, please leave them in the comments below. And thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.